Hello everyone, and welcome to the Q&A discussion regarding MS Estonia. I'd like to thank you guys for being so respectful to the victims overall with your questions and comments, and for your genuine interest in this topic. Let's just take a brief moment to honor the victims, wish well to the survivors and families left behind, and remember MS Estonia 30 years after her sinking. Feel free to discuss in the comments section, just remember, challenge the argument, not the person, and be respectful of the victims, the survivors and victims' families, and each other. Okay, let's answer some questions. The first one is from Andrew Peterson 2865, and you say, I know that there is a sabotage theory. Could you go over it and what, if any, reason there is to consider it a possibility? I believe most people blame the sinking on the bow door failing, but I'm curious to know why others doubt that. Thank you so much for leaving that. That's a good question. The sabotage theory includes a joint effort between Sweden, Estonia, and Great Britain to destroy MS Estonia because of her secretly carrying military equipment. Essentially, it would have been done to hide their dirty laundry. Others doubt the bow visor and bow ramp failure for numerous reasons. First, some reports state that the bow ramp was intact until a dive in 2023 when they recovered it. There has been claims that there was evidence of explosives used to blast open the bow visor, but it's difficult to prove and has been questioned with solid evidence to back the contradiction. The main reason to consider it a possibility is because we just truly don't know what happened for certain. At Ocean Channel Production says, do you think it was a bomb? I personally do not. The evidence to support the bomb theory is flimsy at best, and there's a lot more evidence supporting the official explanation or the submarine theory. But thank you so much for leaving that. I really appreciate you, and I'm glad to see you back. Ooh, I'm gonna mess up this name, and I'm so sorry. At June ASV 8596 says, Estonia ship and submarine collision? There is a theory that there was either a Soviet submarine collision, which is the most popular version, or a Swedish submarine that rammed the Estonia to sink her. There's a 4-meter hole in the hull that does lend support to this theory, but it's really difficult to know for sure. At Gus Parkwood 4890 says, do you have any speculation on why you think it's been so difficult to investigate? My personal thoughts on this are that it's government interference from all of the governments involved in the Sanctity Treaty, partially covering the wreck and pebbles, time, and lack of resources in the 1990s. We have a lot better technology now to investigate these kinds of things, and we just didn't back then. At Clips Films Melbourne says, one of the Estonia survivors said someone was grabbing her while in the water, so she kicked the person so she wouldn't get drowned. It's sad but scary when someone tries to grab you when a person has no life jacket. Honestly, I could see that being the case. Everyone who escaped had so little time to get out of the ship and find safety that it doesn't surprise me that not many of them had life jackets on. In the case of RMS Titanic, people tried to drown each other out of self-preservation as well. So I can definitely see that happening even in a more modern iteration. It's really sad. I just wish that these things had never happened to these people. At Shrib says, the official investigation stated that the bow door has been torn from the vessel. Have you been able to uncover any further corroborated evidence to counter this? Oh, this one's interesting. So, the bow visor, which is the outermost layer to the bow door, was torn off, and there's conclusive proof of metal strain and separation. As for the bow ramp or innermost layer to the bow door, there's contradictory evidence there. It has been reported that dives from 1994 up until about 2023, when the bow ramp was recovered, that the ramp was still intact. Sure, that would let in a little bit of water, but not enough to cause a cataclysmic sinking like what we saw with MS Estonia. This, coupled with the 4-meter large hole in the hull, discovered in 2020 that eerily kind of fits the size and ramifications of a submarine ramming, does lend more credibility to explanations outside the official report. Thank you so much for commenting that. It's great to see you again. At Polly Gualtieri, I'm so sorry if I messed up your name, you say, the ship was used to transport military equipment and was warned to stop. I have seen that it was used to transport military equipment, and that was confirmed by both the nations of Sweden and Estonia, but I couldn't find any corroborating evidence outside of Reddit that they were warned to stop. But if it was common knowledge in the Scandinavian nations, like it's believed to have been, I could see that being true. This commenter has 2 comments, so we'll read them back to back. At SuperMoz007 says, how did the inspection of the ship years earlier did not notice the metal fatigue in the front visor? If the visor broke off, and those would be the loud bangs heard by the survivors, the crack would have started forming years prior. Maybe it was just overlooked. So that's interesting because there is an answer to this. When Sweden went back and looked at reports back then for her seaworthiness on January 28, 1993, the bow visor and bow ramps had not been part of that evaluation, and that was a huge oversight. The ship retroactively has been considered unseaworthy and should not have been out that night on September 28, 1994. It was a major misstep that cost hundreds of lives, and unfortunately, there's no going back to fix that mistake. And your second question is, rather, what were the consequences of the sinking to later ship designs and safety procedures for a safe fare? Safety procedures did change drastically. Crews were required to take crowd and crisis management courses and human behavior classes. VDRs were implemented, EPIRBs were made to set themselves off automatically instead of manually to aid in rescue efforts, and the recovery of life rafts was changed. There has been modifications to the designs of cruise ferries, but those ones are more expensive, so I don't know if they've been implemented. Cruise ferries must be able to withstand 20 inches or 50 centimeters of water in their car decks from 1994 onward. At Vega YT Ship Edit says, I know someone who knows someone that survived the Estonia, I think. Also, what do you think sank her? I figure that she collided with something. Lol, cheers. And in your comments you said, correction, he did survive. So I'm glad I saw your comment and your update, and I'm so glad that he survived the sinking. I can only imagine what he witnessed, though. I personally have two schools of thought. On one hand, the official explanation of the bow visor coming off and flooding the ship makes sense. But contradictory evidence like the bow ramp remaining intact until 2023 and the 4-meter hole in the hull that could have been caused by collision with a submarine or other large object has made me skeptical of the official explanation. Great to see you, friend. At Abstracts1027, one of our longest running subscribers, says, if you could redesign Estonia, what would you change and why? And I have a long answer for this one. I would change her bow visor and bow ramp, first and foremost. I would have at least had them inspected during her January 28, 1993 seaworthiness inspection just to make sure they were sturdy and well maintained. Other than that, I would have made sure the cameras facing that bow door were in the conning station, the bridge would be closer to the bow for better visualization, and that she could withstand at least 20 inches or 50 centimeters of water in her car deck like modern ro-ro pack ships have to. Some sort of stabilizers to balance poor cargo distribution would be another addition I'd consider, as well as better lifeboats and life rafts, a VDR, and an automatic deploying EPIRB. At Leopard12386 says, I honestly can't think of anything, but for the sake of channel activity, I will just say hi, lol. First of all, thank you so much, my friend. Great to see you. Stay safe during this hurricane. It's really wild out there. At Nathan Preston 5056 on our Crimes of the Viking Sally video says, it's my pleasure, may I have a shout out at the end of the video? And absolutely, my friend. Hello, Nathan Preston, great to see you on another project. Thank you for always contributing something interesting to the discussion in the comments section. And that's it. Thank you all so much for this interesting discussion and for all of your comments on these projects. I've really poured my heart and soul into this mini-series as the story of MS Estonia and her victims is so close to me. I've never cried so hard as I did when creating this series out of pure empathy and sadness. Tomorrow we will get into the sinking, and on Monday I will be posting a compilation of both the building and the sinking like I did with Titanic and Lusitania, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all so much for being here, have a lovely Saturday night, and I will see you tomorrow.